Research University do for the people of Asia, Africa, and the world? At AKU, it's a question we're answering every day.
We can use artificial intelligence to identify people at risk of future health problems.
Together with the University of Michigan, AKU is using AI to help identify women at risk of pregnancy complications, as well as individuals at risk of depression. The project has already received $6.5 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health in the US.
We can conduct large-scale, nationwide studies that shed new light on teaching, learning, and assessment.
To assess the state of math and science education in Pakistan, AKU researchers tested 15,000 students and observed hundreds of teachers at work. They found that few educators use the kinds of teaching methods that improve student performance. Now, the university is training hundreds of government math and science teachers in the use of effective pedagogies.
We can show how much more complex the past is than most people realize.
Professor Philip Wood's book, The Imam of the Christians, analyzes the fate of the Christian church in Syria in the 8th and 9th centuries. Wood shows that the church actually gained power during the period thanks to its good relations with the Abbasid Caliphate.
We can generate the evidence that impacts policy and helps save millions of lives globally.
In 2019, Pakistan became the first country in the world to start using a life-saving new typhoid vaccine. AKU researchers made that milestone possible by conducting the first large-scale field-based study of the vaccine's effectiveness.
We can help journalists to provide the public with crucial information and analysis.
Digital technologies continue to disrupt East Africa's news industry. Studies by the Graduate School of Media and Communications reveal how the media is responding and what the future might hold for the journalism profession.
We can address the big changes transforming societies, from climate change to population aging.
In Tanzania, AKU's Arusha Climate and Environmental Research Center is bringing together researchers and students from around the world to study climate change. In Kenya, AKU is conducting the country's first major long-term study of aging, and it's contributing to a groundbreaking international study of Alzheimer's disease. AKU can also save thousands of lives by working at the cutting edge of science in both the community and the laboratory. In rural areas of Pakistan, researchers reduced newborn deaths by a remarkable 25%. They did so by partnering with community health workers and government health facilities. In Kenya, the university and its partners have an even more ambitious goal: to reduce newborn deaths by 50% across 140 hospitals in 5 countries. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, faculty are working to develop new treatments for deadly blood disorders using gene editing technologies such as CRISPR.
In the last 42 years, AKU research has influenced close to 6,500 policy documents from major influential organizations.
With the help of our partners and supporters, we're going to continue to demonstrate what a research university can do for Asia, Africa, and the world.
Last year, AKU research attracted more than $100 million in funding. This work was cited close to 87,000 times by other researchers.
What can a research university do for the people of Asia, Africa, and the world? At AKU, it's a question we're answering every day.
We can use artificial intelligence to identify people at risk of future health problems.
Together with the University of Michigan, AKU is using AI to help identify women at risk of pregnancy complications, as well as individuals at risk of depression. The project has already received $6.5 million in funding from the National Institutes of Health in the US.
We can conduct large-scale nationwide studies that shed new light on teaching, learning, and assessment.
To assess the state of math and science education in Pakistan, AKU researchers tested 15,000 students and observed hundreds of teachers at work. They found that few educators use the kinds of teaching methods that improve student performance. Now, the university is training hundreds of government math and science teachers in the use of effective pedagogies.
We can show how much more complex the past is than most people realize.
Professor Philip Wood's book, The Imam of the Christians, analyzes the fate of the Christian church in Syria in the 8th and 9th centuries. Wood shows that the church actually gained power during the period thanks to its good relations with the Abbasid Caliphate.
We can generate the evidence that impacts policy and helps save millions of lives globally.
In 2019, Pakistan became the first country in the world to start using a life-saving new typhoid vaccine. AKU researchers made that milestone possible by conducting the first large-scale field-based study of the vaccine's effectiveness.
We can help journalists to provide the public with crucial information and analysis.
Digital technologies continue to disrupt East Africa's news industry. Studies by the Graduate School of Media and Communications reveal how the media is responding and what the future might hold for the journalism profession.
We can address the big changes transforming societies, from climate change to population aging.
In Tanzania, AKU's Arusha Climate and Environmental Research Center is bringing together researchers and students from around the world to study climate change. In Kenya, AKU is conducting the country's first major long-term study of aging, and it's contributing to a groundbreaking international study of Alzheimer's disease. AKU can also save thousands of lives by working at the cutting edge of science in both the community and the laboratory. In rural areas of Pakistan, researchers reduced newborn deaths by a remarkable 25%. They did so by partnering with community health workers and government health facilities. In Kenya, the university and its partners have an even more ambitious goal: to reduce newborn deaths by 50% across 140 hospitals in 5 countries. Meanwhile, in the laboratory, faculty are working to develop new treatments for deadly blood disorders using gene editing technologies such as CRISPR.
In the last 42 years, AKU research has influenced close to 6,500 policy documents from major influential organizations.
With the help of our partners and supporters, we're going to continue to demonstrate what a research university can do for Asia, Africa, and the world.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are happy to welcome all those joining us here in the auditorium in Karachi, as well as participants joining online from across AKU's global network and beyond. We will begin the showcase shortly. Chairman Zakir Mahmood, and members of the Aga Khan University Board of Trustees, President Suleiman Shahabuddin, Provost Tania Bubella, our keynote speaker, Dr. Ravi Pendse, distinguished presenters, panelists, colleagues, students, and friends, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to the AKU Global Research Showcase. On behalf of the Aga Khan University Research Office, we are delighted to have you join us here in person and online from across AKU's global network and beyond. My name is Janelle Dias, and I serve as Manager Global Communications in the Research Office. It is my pleasure to be your MC for today's event. Artificial and digital intelligence are rapidly transforming how we understand problems, generate knowledge, and shape solutions across healthcare, education, and society. Today's showcase brings together researchers, students, educators, clinicians, and leaders from across AKU's global network to explore how these technologies can be applied responsibly, ethically, and meaningfully to improve lives, particularly within low and middle income contexts. It is now my pleasure to invite our President and Vice Chancellor, Dr. Suleiman Shahabuddin, to deliver the welcome remarks. Please join me in welcoming our President.
Thank you very much, Janelle. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Chairman, Chair Zakir Mahmood. And we are extremely grateful, sir, for the time that you devote to AKU and for your presence with us this evening. AI is an important topic, data is an important topic, and to know that we have your support is inspiring. So thank you very much. I also realize that we have at least 4 trustees online with us today. And let me also welcome and recognize the virtual presence of Badr Villani, Julie Freshlag, Afaf Malis, and Amin Mauji. So thank you, trustees. Also, I would like to recognize our Provost, Tania, our Vice Provost for Research, Salim, whose show it is today, Shagufta, colleagues, and all of you who are present. Our keynote speaker, Dr. Ravi Pendse, who is the Vice President for Information Technology and the Chief Information Officer at the University of Michigan. And to all the presenters, colleagues, speakers, I realize there's a large contingent of people who have joined online, so I want to welcome them as well, and everyone who is present here today. Assalamu alaikum, and a very good afternoon to all of you. So first of all, Salim, thank you very much for inviting me to today's research showcase. And the theme of this showcase is simple, yet powerful. And that theme is that as members of AKU fraternity, we have the capacity to shape the future of healthcare, education, research, and scholarship in the age of artificial intelligence. The work that we have on display today demonstrates very clearly that at AKU, and when it comes to technology, data, AI, that we are front and center, innovators who are actively discovering what this incredibly powerful technology can do for patients, can do for our students, and can do for scholarship. We are actively engaging with it, we are questioning it, and we are examining it. Indeed, for us at AKU, I should add, this is also deeply aligned with our strategic plan. And as many of you know, data sciences and artificial intelligence is a strategic theme within AKU's 24 to 2028 strategic plan, which we call AKU Onwards. Our founding chancellor once said that universities must challenge the faculty and students to expand the boundaries of human knowledge. And earlier this year, His Highness the Aga Khan, our chancellor, reminded us that never before have we known so much about nature and humanity. Never before have the tools of scholarship and science been so powerful, from gene editing to artificial intelligence, and for climate science to data-driven innovation. So these words, friends and colleagues, capture both the immense promise of this moment and also the profound responsibility that comes with it. So at the Aga Khan University, we are evolving our governance structure for AI. Tanya, Salim, Azra, and the team recently completed a digital innovation mapping that concluded that altogether, believe it or not, 338 digital and AI-enabled initiatives are being undertaken across AKU. And this highlights the strong and growing commitment, our commitment, AKU's commitment to digital innovation across education, research, healthcare, and operations. So I would like to take a moment to applaud all those who are advancing the work of AI at AKU, and to all those who will be sharing their work with us today, for recognizing and embracing the massive opportunities this moment presents. There is little doubt that the possibilities created by AI are profound to transform how we diagnose disease, deliver care, educate students, accelerate research and discovery, and better understand the complex challenges facing humanity. If we look at the healthcare sector, AI can help us to create a world where clinicians, administrators, patients, and researchers get more of what they want and less of what they want to avoid. More time with patients and less time on paperwork. More personalization and less uncertainty about which treatments will work. More prevention and less sickness, including for the most isolated populations. Faster innovation and fewer untreatable conditions. Greater efficiency and perhaps underlined in bold, lower costs. In education, AI could just be as transformative for teachers, students, and for parents. It can expand access to high-quality education in disadvantaged populations, and among those with special needs. Save teachers time and enable them to focus on what matters most. Tailor teaching, tailor learning to each student's needs. Ultimately, it could help to improve learning outcomes and prepare young people for success in the global knowledge economy. If we turn to the humanities and social sciences, we see that AI is equipping scholars with new tools for critically examining huge quantities of text. These tools can enable researchers to detect patterns and trends that have gone unseen, to analyze the spread of ideas and development of traditions over time, to quantify and visualize information in ways that allows new insights to emerge. Better prevention and treatment, more effective teaching and learning, more precise and illuminating scholarship. That's what we all want to see. AI can help us get there. But friends and colleagues, it's not going to be easy. As our presenters will testify, it's going to require dedication and a healthy appetite for continuous learning. It's going to require us to forge strong partnership with other institutions at home and abroad, and to collaborate with researchers from different fields. And importantly, and this is what I want to highlight, importantly, it is also going to require a strong ethical compass and a healthy dose of skepticism. AI, as we know, is a uniquely powerful tool, but it is still only a tool. Whether it is used for good or for ill, whether its advantages outweigh its disadvantages, depends on its users. In other words, it depends on each of us. Rather than enabling clinicians to spend more time with patients and thereby to humanize medicine, AI could make healthcare more impersonal. Rather than making teaching more engaging, AI could lead students to let chatbots do their thinking for them. There is little doubt that many are succumbing to that temptation. A recent survey of US teenagers found that 60% believe students at their school use AI to cheat on a regular basis. The headline of one widely read magazine article put it this way: everyone is cheating their way through college. This is alarming. If you look at misuse of AI by academics, in the words of another recent article, science is drowning in AI slop. Peer review has met its match. So if we are going to capitalize on the vast promise of AI, we need to be clear about the challenges it poses and the harms it could do. We need to do our part, including establishing a strong governance framework and structure at AKU to ensure that AI does not erode the trust the public places in the healthcare profession, in higher education, and in research. And I have no doubt that we will do so, given the quality of work we will be examining today. And I have no doubt that as faculty, staff, and students of the Arkan University, we will help to ensure that AI transforms healthcare, education, and scholarship for the better and for the future. Thank you once again, and I'm so looking forward to the, what is it, Salim, 11 speakers? 11 speakers today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Shahabuddin, for those inspiring remarks. Next, to introduce the vision and purpose behind today's showcase, I invite Dr. Salim Virani, Vice Provost Research at AKU. Please welcome Dr. Virani.
Thank you, Janelle, and good morning and good afternoon, depending on where you are, which campus you're at right now. So, Chairman Zakir, our other board of trustees who are online, President Sulaiman Shahabuddin, Provost Tania Birbala, our Vice President for Finance, Mr. Gufta Hassan, our deans, center directors, other university leaders, faculty members, students, and members from the civil society. Thank you for joining for this first research showcase that we have that highlights work that's happening at our university in the areas of AI, as well as what's happening as far as digital intelligence is concerned. Before I get to some of the messages I had, I think the first question is why? Why are we doing it? There are two reasons, at least in my mind. First is to highlight what this university is doing, what our students are doing, what our researchers are doing, what our staff are doing, which I think is important for all of us who are part of AKU family. And when I use the word AKU family, it's a very extended family that we have, for all of us to know what is happening. And you will see that today in terms of the breadth of subject matter that you will hear. For example, you will hear about a full scoping review that the provost had asked one of our faculty members to do, and you'll be surprised actually how much work is happening at our university. You will have 12 presentations from our faculty members and students highlighting the breadth of work that's happening at the academy. You will hear from a very well-known keynote speaker on issues related to AI that we all need to be mindful of. And then you will have a panel discussion of speakers both from AKU and outside AKU talking about some of the very practical things that we need to be mindful of. So the first is to highlight all of that. But second, and perhaps more important, is when we do these events, it should lead to dialogue. For a technology like AI, we all believe that that is the most important thing that needs to happen, a continuous dialogue and discussion. And that's our hope that the event today will lead to. So that was the why question. I have 5 very quick messages for you as we look at AI. I think the first message that I have for you is that the technology is technology. It will be very difficult for us to keep up with technology. But it is my hope that we do not become centers of implementation for AI that is developed in the global north, but rather centers of AI insight for the global south. And for any technology, it is important, but I think for technology like AI, it is crucial that we answer questions that matter to us. President Sulaiman highlighted some of those issues. When it comes to our pedagogy, what do we do to prepare our educators, our students, that they maintain that critical thinking that has defined our university and academia in general? What are the ethical frameworks that we need to be mindful of in our context? Nobody is going to answer those questions. When it comes to our workforce, What is it that we need to do that our workforce is trained in AI? And then the questions related to their future, their livelihood, those questions only we and only we will be able to answer, and we will have to answer those. And that's why there's a one-liner that comes to mind. I think it was Stuart Russell who said that. He said that artificial intelligence is very good at answering questions. Universities exist so the right questions can be asked. And that's what our job is. And we hope that today's dialogue will lead to some of those questions. The second point that I wanted to mention, and I've said this before related to some AI discussion we had in this particular auditorium, and we all learned this when we were in school, is that a confident output or a confident answer is not always the correct answer. Is not always the correct answer. So for all of us, when we look at AI, it's a moral responsibility that the AI solutions that are developed, those are contextually relevant to the knowledge that is generated in the parts of the world where we all work as part of this university. Otherwise, we risk embedding bias at scale. And therefore, it is a responsibility of all of us first to make sure that that knowledge is generated that can be used. Otherwise, we cannot argue with the global north that your models do not include the knowledge from global south. So we as a university, we have a responsibility to generate that knowledge and then making sure that the models that are developed use that knowledge so the output that comes out is relevant to all of us. That is extremely, extremely important. So, you know, AI may mean Allama Iqbal for somebody in Pakistan, African ingenuity for somebody in Africa. For those of you who play basketball, it may be Allen Iverson. And for all of us, that ant intelligence that we have, I'm sure we all have one ant intelligence in our family who seems to know the answer to every question. That is fine. The output is fine, but in the end, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that that output is relevant to the countries where we operate. The third message I had for our researchers, our administrators, our students, that as we look at these solutions, let's try to do them as design thinking. Let's not make get into these analysis paralysis mode, right? That we have paralysis in the name of perfection. Let's try out small pilots. Let's see what issues we face, fix those, but with an eye towards scaling those solutions, because at the end of the day, AI is only useful if it can help us solve our problems, not just solve our problems, but solve our problems at scale. That was the third message I had. The fourth message that I have is that human-centered AI is great. But I think we need to understand that artificial intelligence is only one vertical when it comes to intelligence. There are other forms of intelligence as well. Logical, mathematical intelligence, emotional intelligence, spatial intelligence, musical intelligence, conflict-related intelligence. And as a university, when we look at this, when we are trying to work with our students, that we make sure that as we are working on one vertical, we understand that other verticals are extremely important. It's called co-pilot for a reason. There are multiple pilots. AI could be one of the pilots. And last but not the least, we must look at AI as an input, no pun intended here. It is not an output. Just saying that I'm using AI for a project or for an initiative that I have for quality improvement is not enough. It is just an input. It allows us to do work which leads to meaningful improvement in the quality of life of the people we serve, meaningful improvement in the processes that our university has. That is the output. So whether it is artificial intelligence AI, whether it will be agentic AI in the next few years, whether it's going to be context-aware AI in the next few years, artificial general intelligence, artificial superintelligence, hopefully in the next 10 years, all of this is fine, but we have to understand that it has to lead to something meaningful. It's just an input towards something else, which is the real output and the outcome that we need to look at. So I think it has been said before at this podium, and I'm not the first one using it. I'll just adapt it to the AI. So in my mind, the best AI is not the best AI in the world. The best AI for a university is the AI that's best for the world. And I hope that as we work and look at this technology tomorrow or next year, next 10 years, the flavor of the month, the flavor of the year, the flavor of the decade might be different, that we understand that as we look at these technological innovations, we keep an eye towards the ultimate prize, which is how do we add value to the populations that we are entrusted and, I would say, blessed to serve. With that, I thank you all. I hope that this is the beginning of several conversations, that we all learn from this, and that this becomes part of our dialogue, because that is, at the end of the day, what's needed when it comes to AI. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Virani. We now move into the first round of lightning presentations. One of the highlights of today's showcase is the opportunity to hear directly from AKU faculty members and students who are applying AI and digital intelligence in innovative and impactful ways across health, education, and development. The projects featured today were reviewed and shortlisted by our project selection committee, comprising faculty members Dr. Salman Kirmani, Sarah Savant, Fortidas Bakuza, our student representative Musa Salar, and superbly chaired by Azra Naseem. We extend our sincere thanks to the committee for their thoughtful review and selection process. Our presenters will now take us through a series of lightning presentations, proceeding one after another in quick succession. Each presenter will be introduced with a title slide, followed by a focused 3-minute presentation highlighting their work and its impact or potential impact. Please enjoy lightning presentations round 1.
Thank you very much for inviting me and for allowing me to go first. Just before I start, before you clock me, I'm at the airport in Cape Town. As I was rushing through the customs, the man said, "Sir, why are you so much in a hurry?" I said, "I have this AI speed dating event. I have to be there in time." He says, "What do you mean speed dating? Look at me. I'm married for 30 years, same wife. I suggest arranged marriage, not speed dating." I said, "Yes, sir." I go, and then he looks at my passport, looks at my picture, looks at my birth date, looks at me. "Are you sure you should be speed dating at your age?" I said, "Sir, please send my passport. I'm in a hurry." So here I am, slide number 1. Thank you for inviting me. The challenge we face in pathology in Africa is pathology capacity is limited. Most pathologists in Africa are not specialized in oncology. Accuracy and turnaround time directly affects outcome. But the TAT we have in Africa is up to 3 weeks for histologic diagnosis using immunohistochemistry, up to 6 weeks for a molecular diagnosis, and nearly 2 to 3 months if you send the tissue abroad. We need histologic markers for prognostication, very critical. We need molecular markers to predict treatment outcome. That is best practice. Our problem in Africa is how do we achieve this best practice diagnostic precision in a timely manner? Our response is leveraging AI to overcome this barrier. Next slide. So what we did was validate vector image pattern recognition, VIPER, developed at the University of Michigan to see whether it would work in Africa on tissue from AKU Nairobi. We took 117 samples from colorectal carcinoma patients. Only 37 had clinical annotation. That was pre-EHR. It'll be much better now. From each paraffin block of the patient's tumor, we made a single H&E stain slide and scanned it on this Wi-Fi enabled digital microscope. It is handheld, palm size, called Grandium. It took 30 seconds. In the next minute, we uploaded the data onto Viper pipeline on the cloud. Image acquisition, pre-processing, segmentation, automated extraction of data, and clustering was done in the cloud. And within a minute, we have the H&E slide top right showing classification, cancer, no cancer, and the cancer isn't in green. This happened quickly. AUC for this accuracy was 0.98, as good as the pathologists in Nairobi, Karachi, or in Boston. Next slide. Next slide. Can you move my slide? Thank you. But we were not, in a way, satisfied with that. We wanted to train applied Viper to identify prognostic features, well-differentiated, fully differentiated. Can we predict 1 year survival? We did this using MIL learning, as well as iterative MIL, to be able to, in a way, use the same slide multiple times. And the outcome, all slide images on the right, a risk heat map on the left, showing well-differentiated versus fully differentiated. We're able to predict outcome, 1 year survival for each of the 37 slides. The outcome, therefore, using AI Viper is 98% diagnostic discrimination, 96% survival prediction. However, to be able to clinically acquire this information, we will need to collaborate with a bigger data set, which is why we could collaborate with Nairobi. Take-home message, AI-assisted digital pathology can leapfrog conventional hurdles, provide diagnostic, prognostic, predictive data, all from a single slide, using Viper from University of Michigan, using pathology sample at AKU Nairobi. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Automatic text recognition, ATR, is the name given to using a computer to transcribe text. For Arabic script, it remains an unsolved problem. By way of example, I asked Claude Sonnet 4.6 to transcribe a multilingual road sign from Karachi and an Arabic manuscript. For the road sign, it does a remarkable job, taking account of the location of the text from symbols and handling the multi-text elements. The manuscript is a different story. Claude admitted that it could not read the vertical text, and it in fact advised me, quite remarkably, to consult an expert paleographer. The Open Islamic at Text Initiative and Kitab, both projects based at AKU ISMC's Centre for Digital Humanities, are working to build systems that can transcribe manuscripts like the one on the slide. Next slide, please. ATR is a type of computer vision problem. We take examples of images and transcriptions and train a computer to recognize text. The task for handwritten text is extremely challenging. It is impossible to provide the model with every imaginable variation of script or hand. Models need to be trained with minimum human effort, but they must be able to deal with styles of writing or character variations that the computer has never seen before. We call models like this generalizable models. We collaborate with leaders in ATR to develop and refine software and models. Particularly, we work on software called Kraken and Party. This work is open source. Our software and models can be freely used by anyone. Models produced by Google or OpenAI might be highly accurate, but we cannot adapt them, and we have no insight into how they were trained. We also publish datasets and guidelines. If we share our images and transcriptions with the world, then other teams or even companies can use that data to help improve the state of the art. Guidelines helped other teams to build consistent datasets that could be used alongside ours for training models. We're also concerned about energy usage. Kraken and Party use much less energy than agents like Claude Sonnet or ChatGPT, and we're asking ourselves, is a small accuracy gain of perhaps 2% really worth the significant increase in energy consumption when using models like this? Next slide, please. Through a 5-year effort, we have produced a series of publications dealing with new models and approaches, datasets for ATR and experiments. Our models for print now have accuracy rates over 95%, and those models are freely available for the community to use through Kraken or our free user-friendly tool, eScriptorium. But our long-term goal is much more ambitious. As the chart on the slide shows, the current transcribed digital corpus, the OpenITI, is already large, around half the size of English Wikipedia, but studies suggest that around 1.5 million manuscripts are out there in the world waiting to be transcribed. Imagine if we could transcribe this vast written heritage. That's our long-term goal. but there are also cross-disciplinary benefits. For example, if we can reliably transcribe historical Arabic script handwritten doctor's notes, then there might be benefits for the history of medicine or even studies of public health. Arabic script ATR has been critically neglected. Our work forms part of a wider effort that will generate genuine social innovation. Thank you very much.
Imagine a grandmother in a rural Kenya beginning to forget names, miss medications, or lose her way home. Her family may think it's normal aging until it becomes severe. Dementia is rising rapidly across low and middle income countries, yet most of us know little about it, and a lot comes from the Western populations. If African populations have a different risk pattern, lifestyles, or disease trajectories, then we may be overlooking critical opportunities for earlier detection and care. Next slide, please. One major challenge in dementia research is that African populations remain significantly underrepresented in global datasets. At the same time, brain imaging data collected in many low and middle income countries is very underutilized, despite its enormous potential to improve the understanding of Alzheimer's disease. Existing diagnostic models are often built using Western populations and may not reflect the genetic, environmental, and the healthcare realities of African communities. Our research combines neuroimaging, clinical and demographic data with machine learning to uncover hidden dementia patterns that traditional analysis may miss. The goal is not simply more AI. Over here, we want to have more equitable AI that works in resource-low settings and supports earlier detection where it is needed the most. Next slide, please. This slide represents the journey of our work, from understanding the growing burden of dementia in Kenya to building the foundations for locally developed AI solutions. We began by analyzing national trends in Alzheimer's disease and related dementias using the global burden of disease data from 1990 to 2021. This helped us understand how dementia is evolving within Kenya, within the African continent, and the global context. But we also recognized another major challenge. Neuroimaging data in many low and middle income countries remain underutilized, and it is often analyzed outside the continent. To address this, we have piloted local imaging quality control pipelines on the Kenyan servers, helping strengthen local data governance, security, and research capacity. We've then curated approximately about 1,500 neuroimaging scans into a structured research-ready dataset because high-quality local data is the foundation for meaningful and equitable machine learning. Our next phase is now to develop machine learning models that can identify patterns associated with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias using locally derived African imaging data. But ultimately, this work is just not about algorithms or technology. A better future is one where dementia is identified earlier, families receive support sooner, and health systems can respond before severe disability develops. I began the story with a grandmother whose symptoms might be dismissed as normal aging, but my hope is that through AI and context-relevant research, we can change that story from late recognition to earlier action, dignity, and better care for aging populations in Africa and beyond. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Every year we lose specialists in STEM, even before we begin teaching. 70% of students fail on spatial reasoning. When students cannot visualize depth, then they struggle, quit, and finally, consequently, we lose future doctors. What if we could expose AI-assisted devices, that is GeoGebra modeling, to 3D printing? This is not a talent problem, but a teaching design problem. Next slide, please. Visualization creates a learning divide. The AI-assisted modeling enhances learning outcomes. Our problems here, one, we have the cognitive overload, where two-dimensional approaches are used to teach 3D geometry, visualization of abstract concepts. We also have a lack of empirical evidence from literature that links AI-assisted devices into into the 3D modeling geometry. Then the underexplored underutilization of GeoGebra, since it's a free source. So our design here, we are now using we are designing the AI-assisted modeling tools. We print we use the 3D printing. That is to modeling. We model we print the designed models, integrate models into the classroom, and then we systematically do the learn. We reflect on the learning outcomes. Next slide, please. Now, to our outcomes, here we are looking at after we have brought the models in class, the significant improvement in learning outcomes after the learners have manipulated with the physical 3D models. Learners also develop critical and creative thinking, and they start engaging with peers. And finally, we look at the self-efficacy and self-drive, where learners begin to have interest in STEM subjects. And these learners, more students begin to engage or to pursue careers involved in STEM. We are not just printing shapes, but we are printing possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you to the Research Office for this opportunity. So every day, about 13,000 children under the age of 5 years dies globally. Every 11 seconds, a mother experiences stillbirth. What is striking is that these deaths are not distributed equally. A child born in a low-resource setting is at much higher risk of dying than that in a high-income setting. And this inequity is tied to access to healthcare providers. As you can see, high-income countries have about 3 doctors per 1,000 population. But low-income countries, where populations are large and disease burdens are high, this ratio is only about 0.5, which means that frontline care providers who are managing even high-risk patients have limited knowledge, limited support, limited tools, and fragmented referrals to deal with. Our frontline care providers in these settings are performing antenatal care routinely using blood pressure, weight, fetal heart rate, ultrasound where available. All these are absolutely essential, but they sometimes just fall short of identifying high-risk pregnancies. Even when Doppler ultrasound is available, we use the more conventional indices in the umbilical and middle cerebral artery. However, there is rich physiological information in the waveform which is currently underutilized because it is complex and it is unknown to the human eye and to the human mind. And that is the goal of the Doppler project, is to unlock these insights from the waveform to enable smarter risk stratification. The numbers speak for themselves. Our data shows that using conventional Doppler waveforms, we can just identify about 56% of perinatal death, which now increases to 89% when we use the extended information from the Doppler. Look at fetal growth restriction. With clinical information, we can only identify about 30% of cases, but this increases 3-fold when Doppler waveforms are used. This just enables smarter care for our frontline care providers. So our goal here is to enable and augment frontline care providers with digitally smart tools and decision support that can enable them to improve identification of at-risk pregnancies and improve care for moms and babies where it matters the most. Thank you.
Can artificial intelligence generate nursing exam MCQs as effectively as human educators? Designing high-quality MCQs is already a major challenge worldwide, and this challenge became even greater in low-middle income countries like Pakistan, where educators face a lot of challenges, which include limited time, inadequate training, and heavy workload. Recently, generative AI shows potential to generate the multiple choice question. But all these evidence are coming from high-income countries and primarily focus on medical education. There are lack of evidence from low-middle income countries and nursing profession. That was the exact problem we addressed in our study. Let me show how we did it. The Aga Khan University School of Nursing and Midwifery already have a rigorous process for creating high-quality MCQs. Rather than replacing this, we introduce generative AI into it, and we compare the AI-generated MCQs with faculty-developed MCQs. And these MCQs go through same rigorous process. And our findings shows that AI-generated MCQs were comparable in overall quality with the faculty-developed MCQs. This gives us insight. The AI have a potential to generate the MCQs to decrease the burden in low-resource setting. However, an important limitation emerged. While AI generates clear and relevant MCQs, but our experts shows inconsistent agreement when classifying them according to Bloom taxonomy levels. It tells us the importance of human expertise and oversight will remain essential. Now the future is not AI versus human. The future is the collaboration of human with the AI. That is called human in the loop approach. And if we use this human in the loop approach responsibly and ethically, it gives us the opportunity to expand our existing MCQs bank, reduce the burden from the faculty, and enhance the quality of assessment. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our presenters from round one for those thought-provoking presentations. It is now my pleasure to invite Veronica Robbie, Director of the Research Office in Kenya, who will introduce our keynote speaker. Over to you, Veronica.
Thank you, Janelle. Recognizing the protocol that has already been established, it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Ravi Pendse. Dr. Pendse is the Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer at the University of Michigan, a role he has held since 2018. He is a professor, researcher, and mentor, and has earned both his Masters of Science and PhD in Electrical Engineering from Wichita State University. In 2023, he was appointed the University of Michigan's first special advisor to the President for India, strengthening engagement with alumni, industry leaders, and prospective students. He is widely recognized for his leadership in digital transformation and emerging technologies. Dr. Pendse has helped institutions adapt innovative IT and AI-driven solutions to advance research, teaching, and institutional effectiveness. He is also a leading voice on human-centered AI leadership, AI literacy, and the responsible integration of emerging technologies in higher education. Through his work and speaking engagements, he brings practical insights into how universities can move beyond AI hype to create meaningful, ethical, and institutional-wide impact. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Ravi.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. I'm deeply, deeply grateful for the opportunity to share a few ideas with all of you, and really enjoyed the lightning talks as I was able to had a chance to listen in. The kind of work that's going on in AKU and other institutions is truly inspiring and wonderful to hear that. So one of the things I often do when I start all my presentations is I share with everyone something my mother taught me when I was very, very young. It's a Sanskrit phrase, so bear with me, please. Acharya Deva Bhava. Acharya is teacher. Teacher is made in the image of God and should be respected as one would respect God. And what she taught me was to see a teacher in everyone I get a chance to interact with. I wish I was there with you in person, but for now, virtual will do. But just in a short time that I joined the meeting, I learned a lot from all of your presenters from the lightning talk. So they have been great teachers, and I hope all of you are as well. But if you really think about it, we could have used AI to translate Sanskrit into English, but we didn't do that. We always talk here at Michigan in terms of human in the loop. In fact, we strongly believe in human-centered AI and I saw several lightning talk speakers also talk about that. So human-centered AI, humans should always be in the loop. Just a quick introduction about the University of Michigan for those of you who may or may not be familiar. This is one of the top institutions in the world dedicated to public good. Let me repeat that again. Top institutions in the world, but the key part is dedicated to public good. We strongly, strongly believe in making a difference and moving the needle for all people all across the world. We have 63,000 plus students, a lot of faculty, lots of schools, lots of research centers. And of course, we do about $2.16 billion of research each year. And what I want to point out there is that $2.16 billion of research, about half of it approximately, is touched by faculty colleagues who use different types of technologies, from high performance computing to AI to sound waves and on and on. And we'll have some examples to look at. When I think about generative AI, I strongly believe that it's going to be, frankly, the most impactful technology of this century and a force for positive disruption if used responsibly, if used thoughtfully, if used ethically, and if used legally. These are all big ifs. But you know what? Institutions like Michigan and AKU can step up and ensure that the world uses this technology responsibly, ethically, thoughtfully, and legally. When we think about who supports this kind of technology, I can't help but express my deep gratitude for the incredible team that I have here at Michigan. They do amazing work each day, including this morning. Several of them showed up just to make sure that this talk goes well. Because, when they think of their CIO, I don't think they think I can manage Zoom on my own. No, actually, they're very kind to make sure that I was here. The other part of gratitude I want to express is to AKU. Many of you already know this, but AKU and have had a deep partnership for a very long time, a partnership that is joined by great ideas, thoughtful and fantastic researchers, and others. And the results speak for themselves. As you see here, lots of different publications, lots of grants, lots of lives transformed by our great researchers. Two in particular I want to call out is Dr. Akbar Walji, who is here at Michigan, and of course, Amina Abu Bakar, who I was able to meet during your visit here to Michigan in October of, I think, 2023. We were also fortunate at that time to host Her Highness Princess Zara, who led the delegation along with your wonderful president and the entire leadership. So we are very fortunate and grateful for the partnership that exists between our two institutions and the groundbreaking, transformative, human-centered work that's going on between the two institutions and our researchers, where we are changing lives every day. As I think about AI, what I want you to know is I don't consider myself an expert in AI. I consider myself a student of AI. And with all due respect to AI experts who may be in the room there or join virtually, what I would like to argue is I would like everyone to think of themselves as a student of AI, because there is so much to learn because of the agility with which this field is moving. One of the questions I ask myself, and I ask of a lot of other people, is what is your AIQ? I ask that question to myself. What is your AIQ? And I ask that question to my organization. I ask that questions across this institution. And when we think about AIQ, people think of course, IQ and EQ. Yes, I'm thinking in those terms. But when I say AIQ, it is not just about knowing how to use AI or applying AI or using generative AI or using, fill in your favorite large language model. That's not what I'm talking about. That's important. That's definitely necessary, something we cannot ignore. But at the same time, when I talk about AIQ, it is also knowing when not to use AI. It is knowing the negative impact AI could have on our critical thinking skills. It really matters that we have all of these thoughts at the table and we are listening to all of the voices. We are listening to all of the voices around us, because at an institution like Michigan, at an institution like AKU, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are very excited about AI, but there are others who have some concerns about AI, and that's okay. That's normal. This is a new technology, and however we use this technology, wherever we use this technology, the human judgment is going to be critical. The human judgment always needs to remain central to everything we do. Talking about human judgment, I thought I'll share a few of the stories of some amazing researchers that we have on the Michigan campus who are using technology and AI in a variety of different ways. One story I want to share with you is by Dr. Rajpaksa and his team, where what they're working on is using AI and other technologies. They're actually working to reprogram our human cells. Reprogram human cells so that they could be used to fight the after effects of chemotherapy that is often required for patients who have cancer. And each time I hear Professor Rajpaksa and his team, I have to take notice. Cancer has been in my family. I lost my mother and sister to cancer, so it's very close to my heart. And so I admire and I'm inspired by the kind of work that Professor Rajpaksa and his team is doing, where they're thinking out of the box and saying, could we reprogram, for example, our skin cells? Could we reprogram our skin cells and use them to fight the after effects of cancer? That's the kind of amazing work that involves human judgment, technology, and people coming together. I often like to say that when I think about this kind of work, it's often augmented by technology, by humans, for humanity, transforming lives. That's what it's about, transforming lives. Research, humanity coming together with technology and transforming lives. So this work is really about reprogramming cells and reimagining how a person recovers from cancer. So that's just one small story of the great work that's happening at Michigan. When I think about AI, I believe that AI, frankly, has become a foundational technology for all organizations, including here at Michigan. In fact, you may be interested in seeing this extremely busy diagram that I'm going to show you next. Might be difficult to read, but what it's trying to emphasize here is each time you think about this kind of technology, it is really across. Just like internet is, AI now has become a foundational technology all across. In fact, when you think about general purpose technologies, is what I'm calling internet and what I'm calling AI, as you think about these general purpose technologies now, we have seen these before, a lot of them. As an example, we have seen, printing press, for example, if we go way back. And if you remember when printing press came on board, as people were talking about printing books, there were folks who were very concerned about that. They said, you mean you're going to print books and share knowledge? There was a deep concern among some of the philosophers at that time. And of course, the steam engine, and each one of these technologies had an immense impact. With AI, I intentionally put down TBD, or to be determined. And the reason for that is the impact will be created by all of us. going back to that responsible use, that human judgment, all of that matters. So the impact AI will have, in my humble opinion, is going to be transformative, is going to be significant, but it will be controlled and supported by humans thinking thoughtfully and asking the question, are we implementing this technology responsibly for the betterment of humanity? That responsible use, that governance is going to be critical. One of the other things you may be interested in knowing is, and this does make a lot of people nervous, is the speed with which this technology is changing. You may know this already, but electricity to reach 1 billion users, 1 billion consumers, it took almost 90 years. The internet that we talked about took about 35, 36 years. The smartphones took about 15 to 16 years. Generative AI, less than 3 years. This next slide depicts that, what I just shared with you. So 90 years, 3 years. So this rate of change does make people nervous, does make people concerned, because everything is moving too fast, according to some people. And this is where we need to have deep conversations with colleagues across and have them at the table. For example, just last month at Michigan, we intentionally had hosted a summit, half-a-day summit, titled Everything That Is Wrong About AI. We wanted people at the table having deep conversations about responsible AI use, and it was a very successful event, and we hope to have more such events. The reason I'm sharing this with you is AI is going to be an amazing technology, but it's going to be it'll require all of us to think in terms of responsible use, and that's going to need all of us working together. And talking about responsible and inspiring use, I want to share with you one other story. This is a story of Dr. Todd Holland. Dr. Holland is an incredible neurosurgeon at the University of Michigan. Brilliant neurosurgeon. He and his team, in partnership, in some cases with colleagues from University of California, San Francisco, have come up with incredible tools and technologies to support and help essentially cure patients with tumors in the brain, malignant tumors in the brain. One of the technologies they developed is a technology called Prima, which allows AI to read MRIs of the brain within seconds, so that the information is fed back to the surgeons who may be operating on the patients. The other technology that they have developed called fast glaucoma. This technology, if I can skip one more slide here, this technology essentially allows the surgeons, while they're doing surgery, to be able to take scans of the brain, have AI analyze it, and feed that information back to the surgeons while surgery is in progress to show to the doctors how much of the tumor, malignant tumor, is still remaining and where is the healthy tissue, where is the boundary between malignant tumor and the healthy tissue, allowing these surgeons to essentially decrease the percentage of malignant tumor remaining in the brain before patients are sent back home from 25% down to 4%. 25% down to 4%. That's the amazing kind of work that Dr. Todd Holland, with technology, with human in the loop, with human judgment, is doing here at the University of Michigan. So again, let me emphasize, augmented by technology, by humans, for humanity, transforming lives. That's what I want to think about. Augmented by technology, transforming lives. That's what Todd Holland is doing. And again, all through of this is the human judgment that's being amplified. The neurosurgeons are still there. They are performing surgery. They are very much involved. Human is still in the loop, augmented by AI. That's what is occurring. When I make these kind of presentations often, I ask the question, how are you using AI? As I gave you some of these inspiring examples. And people all across the world will have many different answers. And I'm sure if you were to take the poll right now there in the room, people will have different answers as well as to how they're using. Here are some of the things that I have heard. From something as simple as planning my child's birthday party, to learning new skills, to doing all kinds of reviews, to transforming lives like Dr. Todd Holland is doing. And I could go on and on. I have also asked the question, for example, what concerns you most about AI? And a lot of hands go up with that, about that as well. One of the challenges is that speed. That makes people nervous when things are coming at you so fast. Every day something new is changing. And these are some of the concerns that people express. If you look at it, we already talked about the negative impact on critical thinking skills. People are worried about sentient AI. Is AI going to come and take my world over? There are a lot of concerns, obviously. In academia, we have colleagues who are very worried about the academic integrity. The challenge of those English papers that we all wrote, at least in my case when I was young, and now what is happening to those. But we also have great faculty members who are evolving their pedagogy in the age of AI. So my humble appeal to all the faculty and academic colleagues there is the concern around integrity, academic integrity is real, but we all should be thinking about how we're going to evolve our pedagogy in the age of AI. That's going to be critical. And I do challenge many of the colleagues all across the world that if you choose to ignore AI, you will be doing that at your own peril. Because AI is here to stay, just like internet has been here to stay for a long, long time, and we have learned to work with it in spite of its challenges. AI is here to stay, and we're going to have to learn to work with it. And technology in general is here to augment humanity, not replace humanity. One interesting example of a different kind of technology and AI occurred at Michigan many, many years ago. This work actually started back in 2001. And this work was done by Dr. Zhen Zhu when she was a graduate student, actually. She's now a distinguished professor here, along with a late Dr. Charles Kane. And their idea was, could, for example, sound waves be used to potentially destroy tumors, cancer tumors in the liver? And it was a bold question. It was out of the box question. Two biomedical engineers who were asking this question, and they actually turned that idea into a non-invasive technology. And as they did this, the idea of Histonics, a company, and the technology itself was called histotripsy. The company Histonics was formed. Most recently, just last year, this company secured a $2.25 billion investment. $2.25 billion, let that number sink in. $2.25 billion investment to continue this work. This is FDA approved for using tumors in liver, and they are now going to be leveraging this technology to look at other cancers. So the future is bright. Two things I want to emphasize here. One, research is not something that happens overnight. It is augmented by technology, but it's also supported by human ingenuity and human patience. This team has been working with this technology for more than 25 years. 25 years. So this is not overnight, two of us got together, had AI in our description, and all of a sudden we got $1 billion evaluation. That's not what this is about. This is about deep research, thoughtful research, many people involved, patience, intentional use of technology where it made sense, and now the magic is happening. Again, emphasizing one more time, augmented by technology, by humans, for humanity, transforming lives. And here, sound waves are transforming lives and providing a real impact in the work that's happening. And as we think about technology, and since there's a lot of conversation on AI, what I wanted to do was quickly show you kind of the history of AI. We're talking a lot about AI right now, but AI has not been new. AI has been around for a very long time. It started with a famous paper by Alan Turing back in around 1950s or so. The reason I'm showing this slide to you, and there are two more slides that will follow, not because I want to go through every box. We don't have time for this. I do remember the iconic moment in 1997 when chess champion Kasparov was defeated by IBM Deep Blue. I'm old, so that's why I remember that. But the point of this is each time, literally, I make a presentation where I'm talking about AI timeline, I literally have to add one more slide because this development has been so fast since about November of 2022. If I go to the next slide, notice the work continues, and things have been happening all across the world in this field. And if I go to the next slide now, this brings us to about April of 2026, and I didn't even have a chance to insert another slide talking about what all has happened in the month of May. The bottom line is all of this work is not being done by AI, even though it's about AI. It is being done by people, great minds coming together, thinking about responsible AI use. So it's not technology that transforms organizations. It's people who transform organizations, not technology, but people who are transforming organizations. I wanted to emphasize that point. And as we take one step further, one of my favorite questions I ask often people is, what was your hardest class in college? I want each one of us to think about that. And as you think about your hardest class in college, I'm not going to ask you to share that. Reason I'm pointing this out is at Michigan, we were kind of the first institution to deploy AI tools at scale. For example, at Michigan, Mr. Jensen Huang talked about, in February of 2025, how every person should have an AI tutor in their back pocket. At Michigan, we have deployed AI tutors for our students, as long as a faculty member wants them, since August of 2023. These are not to replace human teaching assistants. These are to augment them. So in the middle of the night, if I'm struggling with a class and I have a question, as long as my faculty member has deployed it, there's an AI tutor available. In fact, Michigan has been leading in this work, and this is the history of the work that has gone on at Michigan. We started our work in generative AI early, back in late 2022, going into early 2023, and we deployed AI tools at scale in August of 2023. And if I go through this slide and go to the next slide, you will see that most recently we made multiple announcements, including community having access to responsible, very important, responsible agentic AI use across the organization, available to all of our campuses, 140,000 faculty, staff, students, all having access to all of these tools. But again, responsibly. So bottom line, if year 2025 was the year of maybe chatbots and experimentation, 2026 is going to be the year of agentic AI, and it's already here. So when I think about Michigan ecosystem, it looks kind of like this. We have multiple offerings available to our community. One of them is what we call UMGPT. Think of it as lots of different LLMs under the hood available for our community to use. Many different LLMs available for all faculty, staff, and students, completely free. This environment is private, meaning the data is not being shared with anybody. This environment is secure, and it's equitable. It's free for everyone to use. This environment is approved even for EPHI, just so you know. It's approved for all types of restricted data sets, including EPHI, and our community uses it. We also have an environment called Maisie. Maisie is a completely codeless platform. We have 10,000 approximately active deployments of Maisie all across the institution, in research, in teaching, in learning, in administration, in pharmacy, you name it, across the institution, our people are using it. Why? What's our secret sauce? We believe that AI is the new UI. AI is the new user interface, and that's why we wanted to bring AI to people. That's where we created this codeless platform. So a person in our procurement can very easily use it. They do not need to be an AI expert to create a tool that the entire community can benefit from our procurement office, or HR, or benefits. And I could go on, but 10,000 different tools across. We also have a UMGPT toolkit that community uses. This is for API level access to some of the great researchers I heard in the beginning during lightning talks. And I'm sure they're using a lot of these different tools, including, as I like to jokingly say, the original AI, the machine learning, the grind work that we all did. Taking one step further from this environment, that Michigan scale, again, this is frankly augmented by technology. It is by humans, by my great team, for our community to transform lives each day. We are moving from that environment to an agentic environment where most recently, among many other things, we announced a Maisie app store, a Maisy-based app store where our community will be able to create agentic apps under the Maisie's umbrella, and those apps could be shared everywhere. So for example, I could develop an app that may be available and helpful for you to use, or you could develop an app that would be helpful for someone else to use. So there we are challenging our entire community to step up and be part of co-creating AI responsibly, ethically, thoughtfully. We have come a long way. We have come a long way in a very short amount of time. What I wanted to do was jump ahead and show you about a 2-minute video, and that will be my last, and after that I'll have a couple of very brief comments because I'm watching the time and I want to be respectful of all of your times there. So if I can show the video here, just give me a second as I bring it up.
I use AI because it's important to me to work with the tools that are going to shape our future.
I use all the great AI tools here in Michigan to create a digital twin of myself, trained on the courses that I teach, which I make available to students to answer their questions 24/7, practice assignments with them, and inject more interactivity into the classroom than ever before.
I use AI for a more informed and efficient procurement process.
I've used U of M Maisy to compile my notes and use them to study for midterms and finals.
I use AI when I integrate Maisy into the Student Engineering Team Resource Hub to enable on-demand learning.
I use AI to transform complex health data for actionable insight, fostering meaningful impact in the communities we serve, enabling efficient, effective, and equitable care, especially when resources are limited globally.
I use AI a lot to help make complex ideas simpler, especially when I'm learning new concepts.
I use AI in the classroom to allow students to have an interaction with a virtual patient.
I use AI to create a virtual assistant from my Google Drive. It answers students' questions like, are there office hours today? And can I have an extension? It cuts down on a lot of emails.
I use AI to help inspire my creativity.
AI empowers my students to work through technical challenges and rapidly advance their research.
I use AI.
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 And I am AI. Go Blue.
And you probably saw the terrific Dr. Akbar Walji on that video. And what I wanted to do was remind everybody that when we think about AI and technology, it's really augmented by technology, by humans, for humanity, transforming lives. That's what I want you to remember. And in conclusion, what I would love to do is call everybody to action. It is going to require all of us, and Michigan stands by to partner with you to ensure that we are focused on doing good in the world. The focus is enhancing lives, transforming lives all across the world in partnership with all of you. So I'm honored and humbled to have had a chance to share some of our ideas with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Pendse.
Thank you.
Okay. For that insightful keynote address and also for the very important messages you've left us with, like augmented by technology, transforming lives, and ignore AI at your own peril, something for us to keep in mind. With that, we do have mics around the auditorium, and we also invited our online participants to share questions. So if anyone has a question, please do raise your hand, a question for our keynote speaker, and we'll bring the mic to you. Okay, it seems like we don't. Okay, Dr. Virani. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, thank you for to be our keynote. We know how busy you are, so thank you. That was a fabulous talk. I just have one question. When it comes to agentic AI, I know you have your own internal environment. How are you keeping track that these algorithms don't take a life of their own? So what are some parameters that you all are doing centrally to make sure that this remains contained? Because there have been some horror stories related to agentic AI, as you have seen. Thank you.
No, I think that's a great question. Thank you for asking that question. So when I talked about human in the loop, there is the other concept of human on the loop. So what we're doing is we're taking an approach where while we will allow agentic AIs in certain constrained environments to make automated decisions. One example is our cybersecurity environment, where for those of you who are interested in cybersecurity, here is a data point for you. The Michigan network typically is maliciously probed about 700 million times a day. So it's humanly not possible to look at all those events and make quick decisions. So that's where we have leveraged agentic AI to make some automatic decisions. But there are human, information assurance teams that review those decisions. What are those decisions and where those decisions have been made? And we have built guardrails, so our environment is completely, insulated from the rest of the world. So if you're leveraging agents for doing certain things, we have significant guardrails around it. And if there is interest, I'm happy to share some of the details offline where we can, work together. But it's a very critical point that, especially with certain tools that have been in the news, it's really, really important not to turn them loose without proper guardrails, because it can cause difficult things for an organization or for an individual. So great question and a good reminder to everyone.
Thank you. And I believe we have one question from our online audience. Please go ahead. Okay, let's take the online one.
Thank you so much, and very nice to hear Dr. Pendse. It was really, really nice. Just one question. With all these AI, a lot of these AI discussions at the moment, how do you see 5 years from now about are we still be discussing about AI, or we are already preparing for something else?
I think, first of all, terrific question, Shaukat. Good to see you. Always an honor to be talking to you. Shaukat needs no introduction in AKU. He's a legend. And thank you for that question. And, that's a question we have struggled with, because if in November of, 2021, if you had asked me, where do you see yourself 5 years from now, we probably wouldn't be talking about generative AI then. So it's really hard to be in the prediction business in technology. But having said that, I do believe that the current discussion around should we be using AI or should we not be using AI, I think in a few years we'll be way past that. AI will kind of become integrated throughout. And then obviously the next question we have to tackle as a community is the currently AI systems tend to be quite resource intensive in terms of our environment, water use and electricity and so on. And great researchers across the world are developing some terrific algorithms. These algorithms, it's my hope and dream, will bring down the impact on our environment and our climate, leveraging some of the new algorithms that may be coming on board. So we'll have to be mindful of that. We will need a lot of governance. So I'm hoping that in the next few years, the governance comes across and that we all focus on leveraging AI for the betterment of humanity. In fact, it would be my dream if the entire world comes together and passes governance standards that we'll all live by. That will make a life of all of us much, much better. And I know sometimes this can be a dream, but I'm hoping that the right minds will prevail. And it's academia who can drive this. And so I'm hoping will happen. So thank you.
Thank you. And we have just one final question from the room. Go ahead, Memo.
If we wanted to start AI literacy in our university, so what will be the roadmap?
So starting AI literacy at your institution, what would be the roadmap? So one of the things we have done at Michigan, first of all, we made tools available to our students. That was important to us. We also worked with, and we continue to work with our faculty colleagues to provide significant amount of training and resources so that they're able to leverage AI tools where it makes sense to them. And I put my faculty hat on. I don't want some CIO like me coming and telling what I should do in my classroom. So our goal always has been to provide the resources, provide the training, provide ideas, and encourage faculty colleagues to consider leveraging AI. Recall, I started the conversation with what is your AIQ? What I'm hoping is any student, any young person who graduates from any institution of higher education in the entire world, I believe that they should have the highest possible AIQ. And that means knowing how to use all of these tools. But remember, the tools are going to change over time. So having foundational knowledge of AI is going to be critical. And along with that, also knowing when not to use AI. That's also a critical skill that our students need to have. So we have taken a very focused and intentional approach at Michigan. So that focus and intentionality is going to be needed as we continue to enhance AI literacy. So, if you're interested, if you contact me offline, I'm happy to point you to a lot of the online resources that we have available that anybody across the world can use it completely free. So there we have a roadmap and ideas laid out in terms of how one should think about as we try to enhance AI literacy across.
Thank you, Dr. Pendse, and I'm glad you mentioned that because we do have a couple of more questions that have come in to us. So we'd be glad to share those with you because we're a bit limited on time. Thank you again, and your reflections on human-centered AI, ethical innovation, the future of research, all of these have given us much to think about as institutions continue to navigate this rapidly changing, evolving landscape. We move on now to round 2 of our lightning presentations. So, I'll ask our first speaker to be ready to go.
So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Public health largely depends on in-person interviews that are conducted at a large scale. These traditional interviews scale well, but they often miss out the human part. They miss out the story behind the lines. On the other hand, the qualitative interviews provide in-depth information around human behaviors, but these cannot be scaled and standardized. So our research primarily explores the possibility of combining both of these approaches and accumulate or capture the data that is structured and captures the human behavior at the same time. The current AI systems are mostly tested in controlled environments in high digital literacy settings and offer limited options for adaptability to local languages and local contexts. So what we have done is to overcome this challenge, what we have done is we have developed an AI-powered interviewing model that works through the WhatsApp, and the participant has to interface with WhatsApp either using text or using voice notes, and this works in Urdu. So in the background, what happens is that it combines a large language model along with an orchestration layer, which basically controls the flow, the tone, and probing structure of the interviews. What happens also in the background is that we have a structured set of questions to make sure that all the interviews are consistent and are compliant with the research ethics. And at the same time, there is an AI working in the background that basically deeply probes the responses that are provided by the respondent, and other leading questions and probes are generated to make sure that we capture the behavioral intelligence in the system. So far what we have done is we have done anthropographic testing and UX testing of the system, and the results are encouraging. The voice notes work very well with low literacy participants. Most of the participants have reported that they felt very comfortable communicating with AI-moderated Urdu interviews, and they openly discussed their challenges and issues with the AI-moderated Urdu interviews. So the next thing that we look forward to do is to try testing the model at scale and try and see if this can be independently deployed to capture both the behavioral intelligence and structured data at one place. Thank you.
Nasopharyngeal cancers are one of the most common head and neck malignancies encountered in Southeast Asia. The standard treatment paradigm for these cancers include the diagnosis via the biopsy, followed by the staging workup that includes at least MRI and the PET scans, followed by this induction chemotherapy, and then the response evaluation scans, followed by the main course of treatment, that is the concurrent chemoradiotherapy. Now, after this standard treatment, some patients will have excellent response to the treatment, some may have average responses, some may progress even receiving treatment. So why does this happen when all of the patients with the same tumors are having different outcomes? This is probably due to the intertumor heterogeneity or intratumor heterogeneity. This is where the AI jumps in. We propose to create an AI-powered model that can incorporate the radiomics features, that is, that it can analyze the medical scans, the MRI and the PET scans of the patients that were done at the baseline, at the response evaluation scan, and incorporate the characteristics such as the tumor shape, the texture, the intensity, the contrast patterns, and convert it into a numerical data for post-processing, and ultimately leading to the outcomes. These radiomics-based framework can enable the personalized patient modeling, design a decision support model for tumor response estimation, and to evaluate the predictive accuracy and clinical relevance. So the aim is to create a digital twin that can simulate the tumor in a patient before the treatment is actually administered. This will help simulate the tumor dynamics under different treatment adaptation strategies, especially for the patients who respond poorly to the treatment. It can help in identify the imaging and the dosimetric features that are associated with especially radio resistance and early progression that are not visible to the human eye. This can create a personalized clinical pathway, help in a clinical decision support, can help in basic medical researches, and obviously the real-time monitoring of the patient. Thank you.
Thank you. There are three major challenges where that a person presenting with a persistent cough in low-income context must face. One is the time they have to walk a very long for many hours to reach the healthcare facilities. Second is that even the standard tests in many of these facilities are either unavailable or expensive. And this brings us to the third challenge, which is this contributes to late diagnosis of respiratory disease. However, we know that there is a growing number of people in rural income context who owns smartphones. So the question is, how can we build on the growing number of smartphone ownership to develop a simple and effective tool for diagnosis of respiratory disease. Next slide, please. So this brings us to the Kikohozi classifier. Kikohozi means cough. We seek to develop AI-powered cough sound analysis tool that could simplify the classification of TB, asthma, and the COPD in low-income setting. And we have two aims. One is to develop the Kikohozi database, which is the largest African-based cough sound to guide future research. Second is to develop AI model by analyzing the database itself so that we can generate a simple diagnostic tool for respiratory diseases. Thank you. Next slide, please. So far, we have collected more than 20,000 cough recordings from 4,000 people, and we are now in the process of developing AI model. We are also doing cough sound quality checks. And we are also building capacity of healthcare workers on AI application in healthcare setting. And we are also planning to run a competition for AI model. It's kind of benchmarking our own model where we run a global competition on AI. And then, so at the end of the day, we seek to turn every smartphone into a diagnostic tool, which is simple, affordable, and will facilitate early screening of respiratory diseases. This is a collaborative initiative between Aga Khan University, Muhimbili University, and the University of Warwick from UK. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, cervical cancer takes between 3 to 5,000 lives of women everywhere in Pakistan. Almost all of these deaths are preventable. Last year, Government of Pakistan launched its first national HPV vaccination campaign aiming to protect 13 million girls aged 9 to 14 years. But myths about fertility, vaccine safety, and religion create a huge need for trusted information platform. So we asked a very simple question in this evaluation. Can an AI helpline match a human hotline which is run by Ministry of Health and does it safely? Next, please. Go back, please, one slide. Go back one slide. Thank you. Previous slide. One more. Yes. So before the launch of Helpline, we did a survey in order to assess the information needs. So 49% of the caregivers were not aware about the information that was required to make a decision about the uptake of vaccine. So that information gap is the problem this work aims to address. At the center of this project is a voice companion in AI helpline. It is automated voice service that anyone can use from ordinary mobile phone. No smartphone is required. The AI solution draws in response its responses from EPI approved medical knowledge base that human hotline also uses, which keeps this information accurate and consistent. And if you look at the quality, it kept improving from 75% to 94%. Next, please. So we did around more than 90,000 caregiver surveys in 3 rounds. There are 3 key messages inside. So post-use survey showed that equal level of satisfaction was demonstrated by human as well as Gen AI hotline users. AI was 1.1% ahead, which we can see in the vaccine uptake results. Human and Gen AI were almost equal, just 1.1% AI was ahead in terms of the uptake. The third element of this shows that the quality kept improving. Next, please. So what are the key takeaways? That AI is reached to more rural population, women, and language diverse populations. So we are recommending this solution should be used along with the human hotline because it is accessed by the population which are usually left out from the vaccination programs. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Many thanks to the Research Office for this opportunity to showcase some of the work we've done in collaboration with the University of Michigan. So the focus of this work really is how do we build healthy futures and stronger community by promoting optimal brain development. If you think about the Sustainable Development Goals, we have moved beyond just thinking about mortality to how do we ensure children survive and they thrive. And really, we have the best opportunities to build healthy futures by investing in the first 5 years of life, where the brain develops the most, but also they're really foundational for lifelong education, health, productivity, and well-being. So what's the best way to invest? It's to really identify children and families who are struggling and ensuring they're able to get into the healthcare system, into educational system in time in the first 5 years of life, because that's where we get the most output in terms of interventions. Next, please. So the biggest challenge in low and middle income countries is really we don't have psychologists, we don't have developmental pediatricians and other therapists who are needed to identify and intervene early enough. So what the Uzima DS, the Data Science Hub, did is to get data, longitudinal data, to follow up children and harmonize these children, the data from this, and really develop predictive models and see who are the most at-risk children. And our results indicate that using AI and digital intelligence, we really can carry out early screening and early identification of infant children. Next slide. So what are we working towards? We are working towards developing an early childhood risk index that is contextually relevant, driven by data from the field, from the hospital, and other settings. And what we expect to be able to do is develop an early warning system using machine learning techniques, integrate this into a mobile application, and develop a screening or diagnostic tool, which our frontline healthcare workers can use in the field to do this identification. And we do hope that this system can actually expand neurodevelopmental disability screening, improve the efficiency of diagnosis and referrals, and improve the quality of life for children and families in our settings. Thank you very much.
Imagine this, a nursing student walks into a patient room during clinical training. Beside the patient is not only a nurse or a physician, but an AI system predicting risk and guiding decisions. Now, this moment, the question changes, can I care for this patient? Am I prepared to work with this technology effectively and confidently? So, AI is no longer the future of healthcare. It is already here. Yet, many nursing students feel unprepared to use AI confidently. Because the future of nursing will depend not only on compassion, but also on confidence in working alongside intelligent technology. So this became my inspiration to assess undergraduate nursing students' perceptions, intentions, and engagement to use AI in learning. Next slide, please. Currently, the research on nursing education integration of AI, most of the data came from high-income countries, USA and UK, which accounts for almost 70% of data, and only 25% from low and middle-income countries. So without context-specific evidence, like Pakistan, it is difficult to design effective and equitable strategies for integrating AI into nursing education. Next slide. So our findings showed a clear pattern consistent with technology acceptance model. Most nursing students viewed AI positively. They perceived AI as useful and easy to use, which strengthened their intention to use AI in their learning, which ultimately resulted in greater engagement to use AI in their learning. So now the real question is, are we doing enough to prepare future nurses and healthcare professionals for an AI-driven workforce? So, our findings send a clear message. Healthcare education can no longer afford to treat AI literacy as optional. Large-scale research and urgent investment in capacity building are essential to prepare healthcare professionals to use AI safely and confidently in both education and clinical practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Abiha, and that brings us to the end of the lightning presentations. Thank you to all of our presenters. We now turn to a special presentation offering a broader institutional perspective on digital innovation across AKU. The Digital Innovation Mapping Report is AKU's first institution-wide effort to map AI and digital innovation initiatives across research, education, healthcare, and operations. To share key findings and insights from this important initiative, please welcome Azra Naseem, Director, Blended and Digital Learning at AKU.
Okay, thank you. So I'm sure everybody in this room has heard the term digital transformation. Raise your hand if you have. Can we see? Yes, so pretty much everybody has heard the term digital transformation. And at AKU, digital transformation, we know, has been around for a long time. But up until a few months ago, if you had asked anybody about digital transformation, they might have shared with you examples of projects, of pilots. None of us could have given you a complete picture of what digital transformation actually looks like at AKU. And that's where last year, around September, our provost, Dr. Tanya Bubella, asked a question. What does digital and AI innovation actually looks like on the ground at AKU, on all campuses, all programs, and all the departments? And that was a simple question that we decided to explore. So what did we do? Typically in organizational mapping, people opt for audits. Instead, we decided to do a more systematic analysis of what's happening on the ground to build this picture. We first defined digital innovation, and we defined it more broadly. So it included artificial intelligence, machine learning, but it also included things like immersive technology, wearables, and automation. I developed a 9-dimensional framework to map our digital innovations. So what is this innovation all about? Where does it sit? Who are we collaborating with? Where are we in terms of the maturity scale? How are we funding these innovations? What is the actual impact? So those are the kinds of things that we wanted to understand in order to build an institutional-wide picture. Our data included interviews, and we conducted 120 interviews in the last few months. We also administered survey. We looked at our research systems, the Pure system. Researchers in this room, I'm sure you're familiar with Pure. We looked at the ethics review committee database. We looked at our AI projects shared by our ICT team. And we also did a bibliometrics analysis. And we did all of this between October last year to March. What did we find? As President Suleiman mentioned, we found 338 digital and AI innovations across AKU. 144 research digital innovation projects. We found 99 related to education, 49 related to university operations, and 46 health services. Out of this, we have 298 which are currently active. So let's take a very quick look. It's a very extensive exercise and the database is available. So very quickly, when we looked at our digital innovations in research, you can see we have examples of very sophisticated use of artificial intelligence-driven diagnostics and predictive analysis. Our researchers, as you have heard, are using various types of technologies to understand mental health issues. We're creating synthetic data where there is an absence of data in order to train AI models. There is NLP, but alongside all of this high-tech stuff, we also have research projects where our faculty are exploring low-tech solutions. So for example, SMS and other technologies being developed for people who don't have access to reliable technology and internet and so on. And as you can see, we have these research projects happening across AKU, Pakistan, Tanzania, Kenya, and so on. Interestingly, we also have a research office team who has created an AI chatbot to help all of us researchers understand research policies and the processes. So a team that was dealing with a recurrent challenge actually turned that challenge into an opportunity to create the solution. We have we mapped 99 education initiatives across blended learning, immersive learning environments such as the use of virtual reality, augmented reality, and so on. We also noticed that in education, there was a very intentional use of access and equity issues. And so we saw a range of examples of the use of technology to make sure that all our learners, irrespective of their access to technology, are able to benefit from our educational processes. AI and digital solutions are also being used in the academic administration. And of course, AI is everywhere. As you can see, we're using it in teaching. There is GPT being used to create content. AI guidelines have been developed by the university. Our faculty, and you've heard one of the presentations where AI is being used in examination, and a working group has been established to explore the issues around the use of AI and assessment. So as you can see, there's a whole range of things that are happening. And across all of these initiatives, one thing that stood out for us was that our faculty and our students were all asking this question: how do we use digital technologies well and not just widely? We mapped 46 initiatives related to health services and 49 related to university operations. And as you can see there's a whole range of purposes. So for example, in health services, we've seen an extensive focus on data-driven healthcare. Our integrated electronic health record system is already available to our patients in Kenya, and our teams are getting ready to implement it in Karachi and other campuses. There is analytics. There are also digital solutions where our hospital teams are focusing on enhancing patient outcomes using AI and, for example, AI in radiotherapy, generative AI in clinical decision support systems. We're also focusing on using AI to control infections before they become a big problem. improving efficiency of the processes, and most importantly, enhancing access and continuity of care. And when we look at the university operations, AI and other digital intelligence tools are being used to make better decisions. So we have real-time access to the data, the HR, the finance, the purchase, and so on. Enhancing operational efficiency, user experience, and we're also working towards connecting our disconnected systems. All of this is great, and at the same time, we also heard from our researchers, our faculty, our departmental leaders, questions and concerns around digital and AI innovation. And what they were talking about was, how do we make sure that the use of these technologies does not compromise the academic integrity, that our students are still coming out with critical thinking skills, problem solving, and so on. There were questions around who owns the data? How do we take care of the intellectual property? How do we govern the digital and AI use? The issues around equity access were also raised by our faculty and our staff, and also our students. The questions around what kind of society are we looking at 5 to 10 years? How do we make sure that the digital tools and the AI tools are accessible to all and not to just a small group of people? And most importantly, our faculty, staff, and students also ask questions about what is the environmental cost of doing all of this, and how do we make sure that we are more sustainable and use more green AI approaches. So in terms of the maturity, as you can see that a lot of our projects, so there's a lot of activity happening at the pilot and the operational stage, and we are slowly moving up. In terms of the technology development and deployment, we found that majority of our innovations include deploying existing tools. So we are taking technology that's already available and we're deploying it to answer the questions that we're dealing with. And a question for us is, how might we turn these promising digital innovations into lasting, scalable transformation? So every institution has their go-to people for digital innovation. I'm sure you know some of them, and maybe you are one of them too. These are people who say when there's a problem, yes, I can do it. And these are the people who bring that kind of energy. And for us, we were really surprised and happy to see that we have about 192 people who are leading our digital innovation initiatives, which basically shows that at AKU, the digital innovation culture is very inclusive, it's very open, and people from different backgrounds and different roles and levels are able to enter this domain. But at the same time, when we look very closely at the number of these champions, we notice that there's a very small group of people who are leading a majority of these initiatives. So that number comes around to about 25. And that can be turned into a question for us to explore. So how might we build structures and support ecosystems that enable digital innovations to continue to thrive beyond these individual champions and the funding cycles that are available? We have extensive reach in terms of the institutions that we are collaborating with across the globe, and you can see that our digital innovation projects have collaborators in all of these different countries. A question for us now is, how might we strengthen our internal collaborations for digital innovation? All right. So what are we doing with all of this information? Okay. So how is that okay? Yeah. So how are we taking this forward? First and foremost, and we've heard from our keynote speaker as well, the first and foremost is to govern responsibly. And what we're doing right now is we're developing an institution-wide digital governance framework. In order for us to build systems within the university, within our ecosystem, which will help us move our innovation into institutional processes and the knowledge systems that we have. We're also focusing on strengthening capabilities, and that's fundamental. So investing in our people who are leading these innovations. We're focusing on building a culture of critical thinking, of empathy, of social responsibility, alongside critical digital and AI literacies. And finally, as we've heard our Vice Provost also talk about it, all digital innovation needs to be purposeful. Innovation should not be only about technology, but actually about what we are achieving with the technology. And so our intention is to remain human-centered, anticipate the long-term social, environmental, and equity impacts of all our digital innovations that we are leading. And that's what AKU is all about. Thank you.
Thank you, Azra. We now move into our panel discussion on AI and digital intelligence for ethical and impactful research. Moderating today's discussion is Azra Naseem, who just a few moments ago presented our first digital innovation mapping report. And joining her are an outstanding panel of experts. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Nancy Booker, Dean of AKU's Graduate School of Media and Communications, Dr. Mariam Mustafa, Associate Professor at the Lahore University of Management Sciences, Dr. Sarah Savant, Professor at Institute for the Study of Muslim Civilizations, AKU, who unfortunately was in an accident just yesterday, but she still very sportingly agreed to serve as our panelist, but just with her camera and her video turned off. Mr. Shaukat Ali Khan, Executive Chief Digital and Information Officer, NHS West Yorkshire Integrated Care Board and Integrated Care System, and Ms. Farhana Alarakia, Chief Data Innovation Officer at AKU. With that, I hand over again to Azra.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see all of you online. So today we have heard examples of various AI and digital intelligence research projects that are happening at AKU. And one of the things that has stood out for all of us is that it's not only about technology when we talk about digital innovation. And so the important questions that have been raised are we using digital and AI intelligence responsibly? Are we building trust, inclusion, and integrity alongside innovation? And how do we ensure these tools create meaningful impact beyond pilots and experiments? And these are some of the themes that we will explore in today's panel with our panelists. If you have any questions, please note them down or send them to the email address, which will be shared with you. And we will have some time for the questions at the end. All right, so I will begin with my first question to Farhana. Farhana, what opportunities are AI and digital intelligence tools creating for researchers today? And how can institutions prepare people to use them effectively?
So, as we can see from what Dr. Pendse said, is one of the biggest opportunities with AI and data intelligence is you're moving from research that is limited by human scale analysis to research augmented systems that can detect patterns across multimodal data sets that we simply couldn't do before. There is no way a human could detect 700 million attacks on a system, right? But I think the bigger question is whether our research systems are evolving fast enough to harness this opportunity. I happen to be alive during the dot-com era and when it started, and many of those large enterprises struggled, not because they didn't have enough talent or they didn't have enough money. It's because they're built for stability rather than experimentation. So if you look at the stock exchange now, the companies that dominate are not the same that you had in the early 90s. And it's because, they experimented. And I would suggest that academia still operates in sort of that structure designed for a slower era of discovery. It's siloed, there's specialization, but most importantly, we're optimized for validation, not iteration. Now, I'm not saying we throw everything out and you don't need rigor, especially at AKU, because we focus on health sciences. But AI, it evolves through a rapid learning cycle, right? There's that iteration, and it is evolving with this experimentation versus academia, it's validation. And so I would suggest that where researchers will be successful are the ones that can bridge those two worlds.
Thank you, Farhana, for sharing with us these interesting opportunities. So, Dr. Booker, along with opportunities, there are, of course, challenges. And so my question to you is, what are the biggest challenges you see in AI in a research-intensive university?
That's a great question, Azra, and I hope you can hear me. Yeah, great.
Yes, we can hear you.
So that's a great question. And, I think when we talk about biggest challenges, perhaps contextualizing what's big in one region and what isn't in another is important. So I will focus on the biggest challenges as I see them in LMICs. And for me, the very first big challenge is the widening inequalities that exist between those with access to and opportunities, to be able to experiment and to test and to fail forward, and the resources that would enable investing in the tools that would allow, for that kind of experimentation with AI. And those without, and the fact that then we are competing in a world where those inequalities exist. There are contexts where there's a lot of resources that goes into experimentation and failing forward. So that for me is critical. The second biggest challenge for me is what presents itself as the algorithmic biases that that come with AI tools. When you're operating in LMICs, then there is the aspect of the lack of local nuance and issues such as unreliable or fabricated data, because a lot of these tools are trained with data sets that are from the global north. So what happens to those in the global south when that data is not available? And that then presents the kinds of biases that we are seeing, and then of course leading to fabricated data. And I like what our keynote presenter Dr. Ravi said, that it's not about the output, it's the biases even at the point of input, which then leads to the kinds of outputs that we see. I think for me, the last thing is a challenge, and again, focusing on LMICs, is the fact that there definitely are privacy breaches, and these are critical in contexts where digital literacy levels are, quite dispersed and quite different, across different regions. And so the privacy breaches where, sometimes very sensitive information is uploaded onto tools. So, where are you getting that consent from? Do people even know? Do those that you're researching know where this data is going to end up and how it's going to be used, to be able to create or rather develop them or analyze to present the kind of results that we're looking for. And that's because a lot of the populations in some of the contexts that we operate in are not as literate to be able to ask the right questions, even at the point of data collection.
Thank you, Dr. Booker, for highlighting the challenges along with the opportunities that Farhana has pointed out. And so I want to build on some of this. Dr. Mariam, from your perspective, is AI helping us make new discoveries? Or is AI actually shaping the types of questions we are now asking in the research process? And what responsibility comes with it?
Thank you for that. It's a really honest question. And I might actually, I've listened to some of the talks today and the keynote, and I might actually be the wet blanket in the room today. And I apologize for that in advance. I'm just coming off an AI and health convening here where I heard stuff that's kept me up for 2 days. So I think the short answer is both. So AI is genuinely advancing scientific discovery in specific domains. We've heard some of that today. For example, protein folding, medical images, drug discovery, language model, all of the sort of the advancements in these areas have accelerated beyond anything that we could have done without AI. But I think the thing that I worry about is that AI is actually also significantly reshaping what gets studied, who studies it, and whose interests sort of determine the agenda in ways our research community has not been honest enough, I have to say. And this is no longer anecdotal, right? There's empirical evidence that supports this. And one of the studies I do want to mention here, it's a phenomenal work by Birhane and her colleagues, and it was published in 2022, where they analyzed about 100 of the most cited machine learning papers. And they did something very clever. They traced the funding ties for these papers. And they documented, what they found was that the proportion of these papers that were tied to big technology companies went from just 13% in 2008 and 9 to 47% in 2018 and 19. That's a 4-fold increase, right? So when a single set of corporate funders starts to shape much of the field's most influential work, we're no longer setting our own agenda, right? We are responding to one that has been set for us. And so we see this in low middle income countries, and we see the consequences of that in terms of what does not get studies. Almost no foundational AI work will you see on low resource languages, right? Urdu, often, even when you're working with Urdu, it will borrow from Hindi. You will not find work on Saraiki or Sindhi or Balochi. You will not find a lot of work and data sets on populations from low middle income countries or on the workflows of frontline healthcare workers from our part of the world, right? So the lived realities of the women that I work with. And it's not that these are not technically interesting problems. They're very complicated problems. They are just commercially uninteresting problems, I think. And this is sort of the deeper issue, I think, with research sustainability. So the AI research in the global level, and AKU will know this, anybody who's ever bought a Claude subscription will know now that they've changed sort of what their pricing model is. So AI research is becoming cost hundreds of millions of dollars to train. That cost structure means only a handful of institutions can actually do the work that defines the field, right? Universities everywhere are increasingly downstream. So we're fine-tuning, we're evaluating, we are deploying rather than upstream defining. And part of it is just the economies of scale. So I do want to also sort of think through what we can do. And I think one of the most critical needs is to reclaim the agenda at the regional level. So Pakistan and South Asia more broadly have problems that no one else will solve for us. Low resource language, low literacy populations. Dr. Booker has also mentioned some of this. Public health systems that are fragmented, that are under resource constraints. So a standard EMR in the way that it might work in the West is not going to work in a country like ours. And so what would a reimagined EMR look like that can actually be populated with valid data, right? That's not overwhelming for frontline healthcare workers. And if our universities do not lead on these problems, no one is going to. The second thing is investing in data and evaluation infrastructure, not just the models, and we're not doing enough of this. So the most valuable thing a Pakistani university can contribute to global AI is well-documented, ethically sourced, openly available data sets in our own languages, for our own populations, on our own health problems. We're not doing enough of this. And this is really durable infrastructure. AKU, I think, has done a phenomenal job at building collaborative depth, right? And this is super important. So having deep, sustained partnerships with community health systems, with public health systems, with hospitals and frontline cadre, this is not something that anybody external can do. And the last thing I do want to mention, and I think we're not, like, at least this was one of the things I went away with after the AI convening on Saturday was, we're not honest enough about what AI cannot do, particularly in our context. AI is not going to be the bandage that fixes everything. There are some things it's going to be exceptionally good at. There are others it will not. And the most sort of responsible scientific posture is to be specific about where AI is genuinely advancing knowledge and where it is generating noise, recycling findings, or there are extractive research practices that funders reward because it looks cool, but the field no longer needs.
Thank you, Dr. Mariam, for a very comprehensive opening statement around how is AI shaping research. And you've highlighted a number of very important points here. I want to just build on what you've said and come to Shaukat. Shaukat, as Dr. Mariam talked about commercial companies and so on. So one question that comes up again and again is that as researchers, when we use external AI tools or cloud infrastructure and services, in that context, are researchers and organizations really in control of their data? What are the universities struggling with at the moment?
Yeah, thank you, Ezra, and congratulations. It's such an amazing conference. I'm really enjoying. So I think just couple of context with regards to external tools and cloud providers at the moment. Every single institution, whether it's a AKU, whether it's NHS or any other institution, we are leveraging that external help but what we can do is that we can retain governance and contractual oversight. But in reality, of course, we can say all the amazing things which we can understand, but in reality, operational control over data is shared and often reduced, particularly around how data is processed, stored, and reused within the provider ecosystem. And then currently, I sit at NHS and I chair the AI steering group. We are having a really big debate, countrywide, a big debate with regards to our platform. We are using a federated data platform for all the AI initiatives, and there is a really big challenge with regards to how we will host, how we can trust a North American company to host our data, even though we are putting all those things. So there is a really big challenge with regards to sovereignty of data, auditability, and trust, and especially the people confidence, because we did a recent survey in UK, so where 70% of our population is not comfortable about using AI on their data, because this is a really big question about how our data has been used, what are the guardrails we should be putting it. So I think it's a really big subject. So I think within the context of Pakistan, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, I have been actually proposing a new phenomenon, a new concept. Instead of looking for all the models in the North America, Europe, and other parts of the world, I think like it was said, I think we need to look into our own context. 90% of AI solutions are failing at the moment. That's the ratio we are talking about. And then the reason why it's failing is that we are using AI without knowing the actual problem. We are using AI without the right data. And then we are too much emphasizing on technology instead of the overall process management. So I think the best phenomena, what we can work today is that we can bring these solutions based on the Pakistan context, based on the Kenyan context, based on LMIC context, and then use best of Pakistan for the rest of Pakistan, best of Kenya for the rest of Kenya, best of LMIC for the rest of LMIC, instead of bringing other models and then following those through. So I think we have such a unique opportunity here to collaborate, to learn within our context, with our data, and then make that as the best of our country, and then and then scale up and then use for the rest of the country. So I think that's where these challenges with regards to external tools, cloud providers, this will continue. And with the current geopolitical challenges, it's even more challenging for everyone than before to rethink and reevaluate how we want to deal with this.
Thank you, Shaukat, for again bringing in the wider perspective. I will turn to Dr. Sarah Sivan. Thank you so much for being here despite the accident that you had. We're very grateful, Sarah, that you're here. Looking at AI innovations and also just generally digital innovations from the LMIC context, we see a big gap between research and its translation in the real world impact. So Sarah, what do you see are the key barriers, and what do we need as a university need to change or work on in order to improve translation from the research to practice?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have, I think, mostly comments to add to what my fellow panelists have already said, because there's, I think, much richness. The issue of real world impact, I think the timeline, it's important to bear in mind of how quickly things are moving now, but also how far we've come in a really short amount of time. And real world impact will arise from really human interactions that proceed in a different way. To have, serious impact requires systems, it requires relationships, it requires well-identified problems. It requires quite a lot of very human work that just really takes time. And it also, I think, requires some assessment of the actual requirements of the models and of the systems or technical needs. Right now, everything, I think, seems to be moving very quickly. I think many of us, including the teams I'm on, work often in what now seems to be rather artisanal ways relative to the potential of impact that we could realize. So I do think we have to give ourselves some time. I think we have to be really careful in thinking about what we want to accomplish. And I think with regards to low and middle income countries, this is even more so, than perhaps when there's greater resources and rooms for failure. The cooperative international frameworks, I think, are super important. I don't think the AKU should ever feel it should be doing it alone, and it's not. It's one of its greatest, let's say, accomplishments on the medical side, of course, is all of the innovation that is preceded with partnerships. And I think very targeted, good examples of impact need to be put forward at this point. My own thought is, because experimentation is extremely costly, there should be some small number of high impact cases that are developed, and they've already been done. I mean, they're already being done. But at the same time, some bottoms up work. So for some of the more junior scholars to be brought in. I'm not sure if this is all making sense. I've got half a brain, but I hope that these are some comments. Thank you. One final comment, if I can, just to touch on what's been said as well. The issue of enterprise versus consumer AI is super important here too, just to bear in mind that this issue of token hungry models is very much the discourse in the AI news, and we are all subject to that, and particularly on the academic side, where we don't actually have even a place at the table in some of these discussions. So thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. So we will now turn to the audience and see if there are any questions from the audience. So any questions in the auditorium?
Assalamu alaikum. Myself, Dr. Isha. I'm founder of CEO Ignite Medics, Ignite Healthcare Innovation Firm. My question is this: that how we can transform our patient life by using AI, and transform the health by using AI. The ill patient which are not using their AI facilities. So how can we transform their life?
All right. Do you have somebody specific in mind that you want to pose this question to?
Any healthcare profession that who is working on any critical ill patient.
All right, thank you. So there's a question from the auditorium. How can we use AI to transform a patient experience and patient life? Who? Yes.
I can start, and then of course experts are here, so they can aid. I think with regards to how we can transform patients' experience through AI, what we really need to know is that what are we trying to transforming, right? Of course, AI can do even before we start treating the patient with regards to predictive analysis of all from all the past data about especially from their backgrounds and everything within the context of a current patient. If we are using, for example, all the real-time data, right? At AKU, we are already actually improving patient journey within our radiology, where we were taking a lot of time, hours and hours, with regards to getting X-ray results. Now it's actually coming within seconds and minutes, because we are partnering with Aquapax, and then which is using a built-in AI, but of course human in the loop. At the end of the day, the radiologist is the one who is giving the things. So we are already using some of these models within AKU to enhance the user experience. But there are a lot of we are investing heavily with our EHR system. One of the biggest beneficiary will be our patients, because there are built-in AI within our data models, which can bring a lot of processes efficiencies within the processing part, with regards to documentation, with regards to the diagnosis point of view, and then so many other things. So there are so many use cases. I think if we find the right problem in front of us and then think about where AI can help, I think we can target the right thing, instead of just using AI for the sake of AI.
Thank you. Well said. So find the area where we need to improve patient journey, and that's when AI can come in. Very quickly, Farhana, would you like to just quickly tell us about Afia Gemma, which is also geared towards improving patient experience and journey?
Sure. So one of the projects that was mentioned is Afia Gemma, and it's one that we won through the Google Accelerator. I also am going to add commentary to a lot of the other panelists' comments. With respect to LMIC, in terms of having access to AI and data, you have now a lot of small models that are available. So token size not being the limiting factor, cost not being the limiting factor, enabling experimentation. That's what we're doing with Afia Gemma. So what Afia Gemma is doing is we are now training it on Kenyan data. So it is really important, as all of the panelists have said, in order for us not to be just consumers of the data, we need to make sure we build models for our context and our realities. And that's what Afia Gemma does, in that when a clinician is able to ask a question, if a child walks in dehydrated, it's not going to recommend an oral rehydration solution, because that is only available in high-income countries. In Kenya, it is going to recommend uji, which is a local porridge, right? Available right there. Or if the mother has access to clean water, it'll give them a recipe on how to create a local rehydration solution. And so that context about building models for ourselves is really important. And I would also suggest because of the stat that Shokat said, 90% of algorithms fail for our context. They fail for the global south. And guess what? They know that. And they know that in order to make money, they need to make sure that they include LMICs moving forward. And so you do see more of these. And it's up to us to take advantage of that now because they realize they can't operate without us. That is the one huge benefit of AI is we cannot be excluded because it shows up right in their face. So I encourage us to take advantage of that.
Thank you. Thank you, all the panelists, for sharing your remarks related to ethical and responsible use of AI and digital intelligence and the responsibility that lies with all of us, the educators, the researchers, the people who support the academic functions, those of us who work in the hospital. It's everybody's responsibility to think critically, use AI or any digital intelligence tool that we're using purposefully. And I think those are very important messages that our panelists have also given, that there's a huge responsibility for all of us in the low and middle income countries to use these technologies purposefully and responsibly. And with that, we will conclude the panel discussion. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Azra, and our panelists for a rich and timely discussion. As we come to the close of today's showcase, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Tanya Bubella, Provost and Vice President Academic at AKU, and Deputy Vice Chancellor for AKU in Kenya and Uganda, to deliver the closing remarks.
There's people still here. That's amazing. So but it's been what a rich afternoon this has been, right? Like, I think that applause needs to be louder. Like, just amazing. So, you know, what we've really seen is the depth and the breadth of the work at AKU. It's wonderful to showcase work with our partners and maybe an institution that scale at a economy of scale. And I did not bring my artificial brain calculator. 63,000 students compared to 4,000 students. You know, billions of dollars of research funding compared to our awesome $100 million. So, you know, there's a whole range of things that can be done with that amount of money and with that amount of scale and with that amount of campus. And yet, at our scale, what we are doing at AKU is absolutely remarkable. And the thing that makes it even more remarkable is that we are doing it in contexts that are so needed around the world. We are filling we're plugging the data gaps, we're plugging the holes, we're plugging, you know, thinking about natural language models, we're training models in ways that contextualize systems to have an impact for the populations that we serve in this part of the world. And that's really my takeaway. So I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank the research office, all of you, for putting on, and including our East African colleagues that I can't see on the screen anymore. I want to thank the research office for thinking this through and putting this on. I can tell you from a leadership perspective, you know, our feet are to the fire. Particularly our board holds us very accountable. And they are extremely interested in the industries that they come from, some of which is healthcare, but other industries such as insurance, such as banking, such as audit, you know, legal offices. You know, they're coming at us saying, what is going on at AKU? What are the digital transformations happening? What are the risks? What are the benefits? What are the threats? What are the opportunities? You need to tell us. So the first thing that, you know, we did was, well, where's the data? I come from, you know, yes, I'm a lawyer, don't hold that against me. But I come from a long tradition in public health. And in public health, our foundational core belief is evidence-informed decision-making. And you can't make decisions, you can't structure governance pathways, and you can't think through what ethical decision-making looks like unless you have data from which to derive those decisions. And so thank you so much, Ezra, for launching the report. We'll make that publicly available. What we're hoping to do is to turn this into a dashboard so that we can keep updating it. I know that 338 current projects is a complete undercount of what we're doing, right? This is what we got from our interviews and our surveys. There's lots of people that we didn't interview. So if you see things that are missing, add them to our database, because as we said, if we're going to make decisions on how to govern these technologies in all of our domains of operation, whether that's research, whether it's education, and whether it's fundamentally our structural systems, from HR to finance to procurement to everything, we need to have the data on which to base our governance model and our decisions, and where to meaningfully apply those ethical touch points in the decision gates. So everything that we do, we need to have an integrated policy. It needs to be functional across the university and the health system. I always talk about we are a university with a health system. So all of our operations need to be integrated across. We need to think about things with the same underpinning philosophy, which is benefit for our populations. And we need to have an integrated way of thinking about the infrastructure, about the software, about the technologies that we adopt within that infrastructure, and about the data and the way that we use the data to ensure regulatory compliance in a very complex universities, because we work within multiple regulatory frameworks. So none of this is simple. It's going to take some thought, but I'm just really glad that we have such a competent set of leaders in the AI and digital transformation space. And I want to keep us thinking about using digital transformation, because AI is just one of the technologies. And one of the things that we learn is this is where we are now, but we are going way, 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 way beyond. So that buzzword, I can guarantee you, having worked in genomics, I know what happens to buzzwords over time. It will change, right? So we're talking about, computational capacity. The one thing that I have learned in many, many years of analyzing and looking at different statistical data sets is garbage in, garbage out. It's an absolutely simple foundational rule. If we're using garbage to train our models, we will get very, very fancy looking decision sets. We will get beautiful output, but none of it will mean anything, especially in our context. So at AKU, we have the opportunity to be ethical and to contribute meaningfully to the conversation and not to contribute to the noise. And so I thank you for all of that you do, and onwards and upwards for digital transformation at AKU. Thank you.
Thank you, Provost Tanya. To offer a few words of acknowledgement and appreciation, I would now like to invite Milaine De Cruz, Director, Research Office, Pakistan, to the stage. Please join me in welcoming Milaine.
Thank you, Janelle. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Before we conclude today's showcase, I would like to take a few moments to acknowledge the many individuals and teams whose support and dedication have made this event possible. On behalf of the Research Office, I would first like to extend our sincere gratitude to the members of the Aga Khan University Board of Trustees, President Suleiman Shahabuddin, and Provost Dr. Tanya Bubela for their leadership and continued commitment to advancing research and innovation across AKU. I would also like to especially acknowledge Professor Salim Virani, Vice Provost Research, whose vision and leadership were instrumental in bringing this showcase to life and in driving conversations around AI, digital innovation, and research impact across the university. Our sincere appreciation goes to the Project Selection Committee for their thoughtful review and evaluation of the projects that were featured today. A very big thank you to Azra Naseem, who chaired the committee, along with Dr. Salman Kirmani, Dr. Sarah Savant, Dr. Fortidas Bakuza, and Musa Salar for helping curate such a diverse and impactful set of projects. We are deeply grateful to all our presenters for sharing their inspiring work and demonstrating how AI and digital intelligence can be applied to address real-world challenges in health, education, and development. A special thank you to our keynote speaker, Dr. Ravi, for his insightful address on human-centered AI and the future of responsible innovation. I would like to acknowledge again Azra for moderating today's engaging panel discussion and presenting highlights from the Digital Innovation Mapping Report. Thank you as well to our distinguished speakers and panelists, Dr. Sarah Savant, Dr. Mariam Mustafa, Dr. Nancy Booker, Farhana Alarakia, and Shaukat Ali Khan for contributing thoughtful perspectives on ethics, governance, trust, and responsible use of AI. We are equally grateful to our donors, collaborators, and partners for their continued trust and support. To everybody who joined us in person and online, thank you for your participation and engagement throughout the event. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to all the teams who have been working for weeks and weeks behind the scenes, including AV LRC, ICT, and VC support, safety and security, Office of Strategic Communications, Electronics, NFSD, and the entire research office team, whose hard work and coordination ensured the success of today's showcase. Thank you all once again for being part of this very important conversation. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Thank you, Milaine. Today's conversations have demonstrated not only the exciting possibilities of AI and DI, but also the importance of ensuring these technologies remain ethical and grounded in real-world impact. For those joining us in person and staying with us, I know it's not been easy to sit so long. We warmly invite you to join us for refreshments at the poolside, right outside the auditorium. And we wish everyone a wonderful evening, and thank you once again for being part of AKU's Global Research Showcase. Thank you.